Yeah, I would not wait with you. All right, hi, everybody. Good evening. It is Tuesday, December 5th. It's the monthly meeting of the planning board. If everyone could stand and say pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on the agenda is 348 Village Street, informal discussion, the creation of additional lot, private way subdivision. And presenting that would be Bill Halsing.
Yes, I did.
Look at that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Here with Holly House.
All right, you're just gonna have to speak into the microphone if you'd be so kind. Yeah,
Oh,
If
Yeah.
you hold that, that would be fine.
yeah.
I did bring some copies so
Great.
you guys
Thank
can
you.
take a look close up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. Oops, sorry, I already go over it.
You go ahead when you're ready.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Housing and Planning Incorporated. Looking at this parcel, 348 Village Street. Dr. Carlson's lived there for some 20 years or about? 27 years. And he is interested in dividing off one lot. Currently, and actually took a photo of the entrance way out there now. It's a gravel driveway with a lot of nice mature trees around it. Site is just easterly of Himmelfarb and Acorn Street. So he would be interested in doing it private way. Hopefully a gravel driveway with country drainage. It's more environmentally friendly than, catch basins and manholes, if we can avoid it. Just pitch the driveway and do a swale for just one additional dwelling. We do have the 300-foot lot depth. We had looked at dividing this up differently, but lot depth doesn't work with the road and, lots on the side. So one lot's what he's looking for. We're in two different zones. Buildings will be in the residential town zone.
All right, well, I'd say initially, the first thing I would say is that we would send this to the fire department to have them take a peek and make sure
Sure.
that that meets their requirements. That's public safety is the first thing that we want to take care of on that. The gravel driveway, that does bother me. That's fine. I'll let the rest of the board talk, because especially Jim. But, it looks like you're splitting off one lot in a decent-sized parcel, and it makes sense to me, so.
Yeah, and kind of adding in, they're doing a T turnaround, so a fire truck can turn certainly,
Okay.
and any emergency vehicles.
The only other thing would be marking for the, so you must have a, somehow to mark, for public safety, if, your house catches on fire, they can see, because we ran into that up on near the water tank, remember that? We
Yeah.
had that
Yep.
house that they split off,
Yep.
and we had a real issue on, which sounds silly, but to identify the separate lot. So there'd have to be a way to identify that, so they could, identify house number one had a fire, not
Yes.
house number two, and they'd be able to find it, so.
Yeah, perhaps like a sign, say here,
Yeah, I think it would be more at the end of more on Village Street, that it'd have to have it
You
noted.
certainly one on Village Street, so
Right.
people adopt.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other comment from the,
Also, as long as it's built with stormwater, regulations, you'd go online and find all that it would be built on that. I have no problem with as long as it's still impervious, even gravel driveway, we put it as impervious area, so there'll be a stormwater, charge for that. I'm sure you're already paying a large one for that long driveway that you already have, so it would be helpful for you to split it off with somebody else. So I just would encourage you look at stormwater regulations, because
Yeah.
that would be the, and would this, I mean, this wouldn't have to go to the Board of Health, right? I mean, it's not a, well, it would be a septic system, because there's no
Yes.
sewer there.
Right.
Yeah, town water, but septic.
Yeah.
Any other comment from the board? Go ahead.
Just a quick question, why a road as opposed to just a shared driveway? Is that just a technical
Create frontage.
distinction?
It's not adequate frontage for two lots. So you end up doing a right-of-way, and it creates adequate frontage.
Got it.
Because certainly to do two lots, and it'd be much simpler, but I'm not sure ZBA would grant that one. That's asking for a lot.
I do remember that this came to us before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it came in 2009, because
2009,
we got it, looked at it, you were actually on the board,
Yeah.
and it got sent back, so,
It was withdrawn.
it was withdrawn,
Was
sorry,
withdrawn,
yes.
But, yeah,
Without
you're right.
prejudice, now
Seems
I
right.
remember.
Yeah, for just a little bit of time.
Yeah. I have paintbrushes in my garage, that I go out to the garage to get the paintbrush, and it's like solid in the thing, and I'm like, I can't remember why, and I'm like, when did I use that last? And it was like 5 years ago, so,
Yeah.
so. All right, well, that sounds good. What do we want to do? What do you think?
I'm assuming that a definitive subdivision plan application has to be filed.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
just is an informal hearing, this is
Yeah.
just, there's
Yeah.
nothing here, that the board will not bind itself to any decisions, because the specifics haven't been done, you know. As it appears, it looks fine, assuming that when you do all the plans, everything, you know, is up to snuff.
Oh, understood. And we're looking for guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just on that, I mean, we wouldn't have to, I mean, they're not gonna have to do the fire alarm or any of that, I mean, it's one
I don't think the
house.
fire alarm, when I questioned, what happened at Rivendell, did they make him put a hydrant in there?
I
Up in
think
the
they did-
cul-de-sac?
I-
I'm not saying that he's
Yeah.
gonna make you put one there,
I
I
can't
don't
remember
know.
if it was at the end of the street, or,
If there was-
yeah, I
yeah.
think there was one at the end of the
So
street.
you may wanna look at where the closest one, so he knows that
right.
you may wanna,
Right.
because he may, whatever.
Yes, sort of adequate spacing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just remember, we just paved that road after, so you got a 5-year moratorium on, so hopefully you're not gonna have to cut anything out on the road. So I mean, what service do you have coming in, do you know?
You mean
Water service,
How
yeah.
big is it?
Pardon me?
How large is the pipe?
Oh, I don't know.
So we'll have to find that out, and we can work off that. Okay, I mean, not that you're gonna build it tomorrow, but
Right.
just keep that in mind, though, that there's a 5-year moratorium on it.
When was that paved?
Yeah, a month ago?
Nothing like new pavement.
All right, well, unless there's anything else, I think we're good, so,
All right.
good, thanks
Oh,
for coming
well,
in.
thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate the guidance.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bill, if you need a current form, I can email that to you with the, okay. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. When you're ready, just give me.
Whoop, there we go, thank you. All right, next item of business is approval of the minutes from November 14th. I make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and other than that, we have to,
When would you like to schedule a February meeting?
I'm away from the 12th, so if you have it before, that's fine, but if not, I won't be here.
6.
So I know that, Mr. Chairman, with the PFAT, we'll be bringing that probably in February, so I'll have to recuse myself from that, so
okay,
it'll be best if George is here, so.
here, okay,
So February 6th?
That'd be.
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
Jim, do you think you'll have it for January or February?
Yeah, February would be better because I'm looking, I may end up being, I may,
So when's the January
The
one?
January meeting is January
9th.
9th.
Yeah, we'll be, yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do January 9th.
You do January?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
February 6th is the
Wait a second. What are you confusing?
I may be out.
We're building a new
I have to
PFAS
find out when
plant.
I'm on
Oh.
vacation.
Well, 3.
Would
That's garbage, you should be able to vote for it.
I have to check my vacation. I'll get back to you on that.
Political
I didn't put it in
bullshit.
my own calendar.
You know that as well as I do.
All right, so that was February 6th. The only other thing is, this morning we had a meeting with Permanent Building Committee, and we ended up choosing an architect for the feasibility study for the renovation to the Millis Middle High School. For people that don't know, the high school is going to need a new roof. They did an extensive survey on it, and the roof, which has been there since the last renovation, is in need of repair, along with other items like the HVAC systems are not working correctly. The main electrical service for the building was put in 1956. They don't make parts for it, so if the main service, which is like a 1200 amp service, goes, we're out of luck. They can't get parts. And I actually toured the school. I actually went to Millis High, and I hadn't been there since I graduated over 40 years ago. And when I walked through, the public spaces were really well maintained. I mean, you go in the public spaces, and when you go in, because I've been there for my kids for school, and it looked good, you felt good about the school. I went into some of the back areas, and there's a lot of, it's like a car that is, a 1970 Buick. It looks good on the outside, but there's so much rust, it's just gonna fall apart. So our goal is to do a renovation and not a new school. That's how we went and proposed it to the applicants. We interviewed, we put it out to bid for architectural services. We got in, I think there was like 15 people that came for the tour, walked through, looked at everything. It came down to 3 applicants that actually applied for the position. So this morning we had a meeting with the MSBA and interviewed all 3. One was from Connecticut and 2 were from Massachusetts. We ended up choosing the same architect that had done the Clyde Brown. Worked with them in the past. That project actually came in significantly under budget, which, considering the building boom and the tail end of it, we finished off in COVID, was a credit to both the architectural firm and the Permanent Building Committee and Wayne Clarko, because Wayne was the chair of it at that time, along with the other members, but we were all together really frugal on how we spent money on that project. We dug deep, we found things that we could, do more economically. We worked with the contractor actually worked with us. The committee themselves found things that, saved the town money. Anyhow, long and the short of it is that they're doing a feasibility study for a renovation of the high school, middle school. There is opportunities from the government to get credits and money for redoing the heating system and cooling. They actually have, there's one of the programs that are out now, they will reimburse the town if we go towards a greener heat source for the building. So that would be something that we would be looking at. Obviously, it has to make sense for the town, because that's our mantra for this project is, we're Millis. We can't afford to spend a lot of money. We have to upgrade the building, but we want to do it as economically as possible. We're on the hook for a new roof anyhow, and the HVAC and electrical are in, dire need of upgrade. So at some point in time, that's going to have to happen. If we can get it, and we can get the MSBA to reimburse us for 40%, because they've actually raised the reimbursement rate, and so we can get it for, almost half off. I think that's, something that the town should start thinking about, because it's coming up. Unfortunately, one of the things that we've also brought up is that we have building fatigue. So because in the earlier years, we kind of kicked the can down the road. And then what happened is now, unfortunately, we're the group that is gonna is having to pay for the fact that earlier we didn't do what we should have done and maintain the buildings. And, you know, we all know that, you know, unfortunately, we're great at building things, we're just not as good as maintaining them along the way. This project is at the tail end of the police station, the library, the fire station, and the Clyde Brown. So, we understand there's fatigue in the community. We understand that, you know, we've asked people to do a lot along the way. You know, unfortunately, the burden has fallen on us to, you know, pick up the heavy load and carry it and do the right thing. But, you know, when I spoke at the town meeting for the Clyde Brown, and my kids are through the school. I mean, I'm done. And unfortunately, they would never have benefited from it. But the kids that are going through the school system now are benefiting for it. I grew up in Millis. I think that I owe the town whatever I can do to, you know, help carry this load and get this, you know, get the town to a point where the buildings are suitable for the, you know, what they're meant to do. You know, the fire station now is in good shape, the police station's in good shape. I mean, it was out of, you know, it was basically illegal. Some of the jail cells were illegal at the time when we did them. And then the Clyde Brown literally was, you know, falling down because it was old. I mean, so, you know, this is gonna be something that's coming up. There's gonna be a lot of talk about it. You know, there's good points in, for each side. You know, I can see both sides of the coin. But, you know, this is something that you as a citizen has to think about is, you know, do we wanna pick up the load and we wanna carry it so that the people behind us will be able to enjoy what they should have and, you know, have suitable buildings that are able to do what people need to do, you know, to be able to teach the kids. So, just heads up, it's coming. There'll be open meetings, there'll be all sorts of information out. We look for public participation. We have no secrets, everything's up front. It was the same way in the Clyde Brown. You know, we don't have backroom deals. You come and see it, we'll tell you everything you wanna know about it. We can tell you more stuff than you'd ever wanna know, so, you know, that's how we do it and how we're gonna continue. So, anyhow, other than that, is there any other business?
What kind of money?
We don't know yet. We put in an initial, there was an initial thought process. When we put it in, the roof itself was around 8, just to do the roof over. So you get a roof, and you have a building that has crappy HVAC. Literally, they have rooms, my kids went there, in the west side of the school in the afternoons, you know, when it gets to be May and June, the rooms get up to 95, 96 degrees. They actually have to kick the kids out of the rooms. They're in the hallway. You know, they're lacking spaces because of the way that the building was set up in the 50s. They teach differently now. They have more people in the school. They literally have people who are, you know, teachers, aides, you know, things like that in broom closets. I mean, they literally have, you know, they did a technology program, and the person who ran the technology program basically set up a desk in the corner of the library, and they set up a couple of portable screens, and that's their office. So, you know, credit to the school. You know, that people don't realize how frugal the school is. They really do try hard not to spend money. They buy their stuff in bulk. They're locked into contracts with the teachers. I mean, that's how that works. So they have costs that are fixed. They have salaries, they have insurance, they have requirements from the state for special education that we had an issue with last year where the state changed the funding, and they said, okay, well, we're just not gonna fund it as much as we did, and oh, by the way, you guys are on the hook. So, we need to do those things. Unfortunately, the way that the money is allocated isn't necessarily something that they can count on, and something that, sometimes they have difficulties in managing it, not due to the school's, fault. But to answer the question, we do have quite a bit. When I went through the school, it was eye-opening to see, how degraded some areas were. They really did, they put on a good public face. When I went behind the scenes, I went behind the curtain, and I saw behind the Wizard of Oz, and it was pretty ugly back there. So, we've got to do, in my mind, we want to try to preserve the building because it's going to be a lower cost. They have to make it meet the requirements of 21st century, learning. So the Clyde Brown, the MSBA has a prescriptive how you need to build a building. They have a certain amount of volume per child, they have a certain amount of light. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to do, and you can't get around it. But they'll also give you 40%. So I'm willing to have a big foyer if they're saying, we're gonna pay for 40% of it. So those are things that, people, have mentioned to me in the past, we walk into the school and there's all these open spaces and stuff. That's part of the requirement. If they're giving us 40% of the money, we'll do, whatever they want, because it'll, in the end, we as a town will benefit from it. So,
Will there be any, no expansion, no?
no, it's a renovation expansion, so they wanna do, it's not a big expansion,
Yeah.
they need to add more space to the cafeteria. Because right now, the cafeteria, they have it in
Split
shifts.
shifts.
They have 3 shifts. Lunch starts at 10 o'clock, and it goes all the way to like 1. So they literally, because they have middle and high school, it's just crazy. I mean, my kids were getting to school, and when they first started, they got to school, they had breakfast, and they had lunch 2 hours later. So,
And then they have to sit there for the next 5 hours
Right.
in class without any.
right, so that, that they wanna do. They also wanna do things where, the new type of learning, like they did over Clyde Brown, where they do the STEM, so they actually want kids to learn by building and doing things. So that requires more space. So there is, it is a addition, renovation is the concept, but it's, we interviewed, and one of the firms, started off with new school. And we have to, as a committee, and the architects are required by the MSBA to go through, and we have to make sure that, can you do the renovation? Is it gonna be economically feasible? They could get into the building, find out there's some structural issues that we can't overcome, and then we may be in a different ball of wax. The MSBA wants to protect their money, so they make them do a renovation and a new build, to make sure when they're done, they want the product to last 50 years. That's the goal of the MSBA. So, provided that the existing structure is in good enough shape that you can renovate it, then we'll be doing a renovation if it's more cost effective. If the cost of renovating it ends up to be almost to the point where we have new school, we may have to have another, conversation of, we may need to replace it. But we're going into it, that the words that I have said, it's like a drumbeat, we're Millis, we need to do this is economically, conservatively as possible. And that's, that's the drumbeat that we've gone through, to the point where, people are tired of hearing it. But I'm gonna keep on saying it so that they understand that, it's going to be, it's a burden for everyone, and we understand that. And we wanna make sure that we try to make the burden as light as possible, and do what we need to do. Go ahead.
That included with fields and,
No, the fields, the only reason that we'd have anything to do with the fields is MSBA will not reimburse anything with the fields as part of the project. They, after Newton North, they changed the whole formula. And so the only reason that they would do something with the fields is if we ended up needing to take over a field to, let's say we ended up having to, let's say they get into the school and they find out all the structure at the base where they poured the concrete was no good, and the whole building was gonna collapse. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, but let's just say that. And we had to do a new school. They would then reimburse us because we had to take that space to basically replace what we had. When they did the Clyde Brown, we had the tennis courts that we took. We had to put the tennis courts back. That was part of the project, is we took them, we had to put them back as they were. They did throw that pickleball court in that goes 24/7. But basically, you know, they have to put it back the way it was. So unfortunately, no, we won't be able to do anything with the fields. They can do a study, when they do the layout of the project. So we could have the framework for being able to do something with the fields. But that wouldn't necessarily be part of the overall project. And unfortunately, I mean, this was brought up in the initial conversation, and, you know, I sympathize. I mean, I got it, you know, my son played there. You know, we watched him play, you know, he played baseball, he played football. You know, they don't do track at Millis because we have a cinder track. I got it. Unfortunately, we're not Weston, we're not Lincoln. I'd love to do it, you know, it would be great if we could do it. We just can't ask people to put that forwards, because right now, you know, it's gonna be a big enough ask just to do, you know, the right thing and fix the school up so it's basically habitable, so. Unless George Jarrett Incorporated is willing to make a donation for.
As soon as I win the lottery.
So anyhow, that's, yeah, just a heads up of, you know, that'll be coming up. We're gonna be working on it, and like I said, everything's open. They're looking for public input, and, you know, it's gonna be a process. So. All right, well, unless there's anything else. All right, I wish everyone a happy holiday, and
Yep.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.